So we have to be sincere, right? It goes a long ways to be really sincere with the process itself, the just what's actually happening. What's actually happening, not what we want to happen, not what we think we need to happen. It's not like we'll never have another movement towards action. We will. We will be moved. But we will be moved from and as the immovable source of all that is. The wisdom that's immovable, the joy that's immovable, the causeless love not going anywhere. Rather than the weather, moved by the weather. You know, I'm not blaming or shaming or anything. I'm speaking from experience, which is another thing that I did want to just bring forward that I'm not sure I did at this retreat so far. You know, I don't need anybody to believe anything. In fact, I would really hope that we would all stop believing and knowing. And this is not a lineage or an expression of dogma or philosophy or please get on my program. I'm just speaking from direct experience. That's it. And like so many others who, for who knows what reason, no reason, I don't know. But here there was a change in occupancy. There was a separate self, and then there wasn't. And in that radical shift from a state of being, a state of mind, to a condition, a wayless way, you don't want to say anything. I know you, brother. You don't want to say anything. Eckhart Tolle sat on a bench in Vancouver for like 3 years. You know, the people who do decide to come back and write these books that we get to read, I mean, hallelujah. Because I don't know about them, but I've heard their stories. And they mostly, I was at an audio retreat one time in Seattle. This stunned the crowd into absolute silence because everybody worships Ajahn. He doesn't want it, but they do. And somebody, it wasn't in response to a question. He came out like to give his talk and he sat down and he was like, geez, thanks so much for inviting me. I'd probably just be spending the weekend watching car racing. And everybody was like, oh, Ajahn Shanti. Oh my God. You know, the great Wizard of Ajahn would rather be watching car racing. I mean, honestly, if I could communicate it by handing you a flower, I would. I would. And maybe that's the way. I don't know. So if we're building a case against whatever we're hearing, maybe we can go back to that first night where Rumi encouraged us to change rooms in our minds for a day. Just go ahead and a sweet abandon. Why not? All the knowing. And if we are like trying, here's the thing. Maybe I'll be able to read this. It'll be better than if I try to come up with it. I wrote this earlier. It's just really sometimes difficult to read anymore. How will we ever directly encounter or meet the moment if we are thinking it should be other than it is? Right? That's just like obvious to every one of us. The gap between what actually is and what we want it to be begins to close when we give the attention to effortless presence. As that gap between narrating and thinking about experience and directly inhabiting the current moment as it is closes, we stand naturally, naked, in the moment, as the moment. And it's less than a moment, but that's the word we have. In the millisecond, as the millisecond. In the less than millisecond, as the millisecond. In the abyss that is falling, as the abyss that is falling. And we have the opportunity to remember, directly encounter the emptiness of phenomena, the heart of matter, and the reality of causeless love. If our identity rests in the masks that we wear and the wars that we wage, the roles that we play, the things we do, then sooner or later, we're going to have to defend that identity. Because we will meet with the idea of comparison and betterness, someone who's better. I can't shine unless there's somebody worse than me. I am shining in comparison to that. Ooh, I'm real dim in comparison to that. We will meet with that. That's how it works. We will meet with the ideas of comparison, betterness, insufficiency, and powerlessness in order to defend the role. It's inherent. It's self-generating. And so, manipulation, jealousy, control, criticism, arguing, war, division come into play. Because causeless love doesn't go to war. Effortless presence just is. And we do with it whatever we want. We can form it in whatever form we would like to form it in through belief and thinking, or we can become an avenue of awareness. If we believe the judgments and assumptions that run through our heads, we suffer. And by me, I mean all of us suffer. We all suffer that. And we project that suffering onto whatever is appearing. Causeless love is immovable, eternal, and essential, fundamental. But we can't sense it because we're too busy fighting our wars. Do we see it? So we can listen, take it all to tea. Feels like a funny little exercise. Where am I resisting? What am I believing? You know, Ajahn had 3 things. He boiled it down to 3. I mean, he gave us the life rope of all time. But the 3 things: get still, meaning abandon the constant referencing, narrating, describing, deciding. Abandon it, be still. Not just our bodies in a posture. That's helpful in some ways and sometimes not. Be still. Don't go anywhere. Be as is. Question every thought. And he would always say, but only every one. But only every thought. And contemplate the source of reality. Become interested vitally in what is listening. What is listening? What is seeing? What is that? What is that? What is it? Can I attend? Can I abandon? Can I be still? Abandon this constancy of identification with narration, thinking, believing, suffering, powerlessness, the whole thing. Can I abandon that and get really curious and wonder about what is this? What is this? What is this? The very first time I got up in front of Aja, I only have been able to get up in front of him twice, but that was my question. What is this? Couldn't figure it out. And it would not leave my consciousness. Like, I couldn't understand. I had to relearn. That's a husband. That's a granddaughter. This is a basket. You use it when you need to. This is the hand that picks it up. I kid you not. And it was just, what is this? What is it? And for a while, it still wanted to jump in of like, who? Who is listening? It couldn't accept. There were still remnants that couldn't see and abandon the idea that there must be a listener if there is listening. There must be a seer if there is seeing. There can't be listeningness is until there was. And that's what I mean by the I becomes more and more and more eroded, falling back and back and back and back and back until it's, whew, that flame goes out. That flame goes out. And listening is. Seeing is. Presence is. Dare I say it, love. Love is. No matter the appearance. If we see anything that's less than love, and I don't mean doormat, passive, that's not what I'm saying. Let's see if I can say it. Before I heard anything about enlightenment, before there was that word, and the guides, and I was just definitely 100% in the direct experience because that's all I had. In some of those earliest writings, I attempted to word it as the absence of fear. The absence of fear and the permission to shine. It's almost gone really actually beyond permission. It's the absence of fear and the I don't know how to say it. I really don't. As if, I guess it's like the Buddhist word dharma. Like when we surrender to that. Surrender to the dharma of the expression, the shining of that particular ray of sunshine. And you give way. You give way. You don't have to be a saint. It's not really what I'm saying at all. The mind will hear all kinds of strange things about it because it has to be in comparison to something and it has to be known. And absence of fear, giving way as shining, devotion to the moment as the moment is. Because there's no other moment. So if that moment evokes from the ground of wisdom, the ground of love, a temple dog, like at this retreat, we don't, we go to retreat leaders with our issues. Or, if something has to be said, well, then it's said. Not for or against anybody, but you don't understand it, you don't reason it. You don't make sense of it. All of that's gone. I've often said, and it's true to this day in this experience, at the level of the heart, I would go there. I would go there because it all makes sense there. Where up here, you need a case for everything. I'm making a case for that, I'm making a case for that. This makes sense. We all know that territory is so intimate. But how intimately do we know this? How intimately do we know wholehearted, liberated devotion to the moment as it is, where we can stand as the ground of love, which is, it's not trying to be intimate, it's just like water and wetness, like the sun and shining. It is what it is. It's beyond intimacy. Its nature is, we could say connection, because we think in one and two, but it's not connection, it's allness, wholeness. Wholeness. And as we said, if you look in there, you find empty, it's empty. Empty. Empty of a selfhood, a personhood, something to grab onto. The human heart is a beautiful, beautiful, wild ride. But the heart of the heart is immovable as original mystery, original first, let there be light. It's original, it's immovable, it is. And I feel that if we are to be the avenue of the power that animates, the power that creates. That's not the ego structure or the separate idea. That separate idea is playing around and getting to experience itself and do all of its shenanigans in the spaciousness of what actually is. It's animated, but it's not the animator. So to be an avenue, I mean, I don't know, I did a satsang this winter that something that came forward was, it's like, nobody would have dreamed of, well, maybe some people did, I don't know, I can't say that for sure, but before electricity was discovered, electricity was quite here, it was absolutely here. And then a moment of open field listening and creative instrument, Hollow Reed, oh, now we're aware of electricity. And we can all benefit from electricity. But it's not that electricity was absent. It wasn't within consciousness. It wasn't believed in. Like I'm a little bit all over the place. We've been exploring, maybe some of us have, maybe some of us haven't, a sense of where we say no or resist what's unwanted, what's undesirable, and how that comes into being, and how we can sit with it. How we can sit with that in a way that isn't like, I have to go out and bonk somebody over the head. Because sometimes we do that in our mistakenness or misidentification. If we give it away somehow or another, it feels good to give it to God in your makeup, give it to the heart. A lot of the times how it works here, give it to the heart, give the mind to the heart, give the mind to the heart. Look down, get humble. Please forgive me. But in some fashion, we have to let go. If we really are interested in, and we may not be, and that's okay, if we're interested in liberation, freedom from suffering, freedom from struggle, and if we want to find that freedom in the struggling world, so that it can have an avenue like electricity can be discovered. It has an avenue, an expression. Yeah? Because we've just tried war like forever and ever. And everybody's righteous about their thing and thinks they're more right about everything than the next person. And, you know, very obviously, there are levels of consciousness that are more harmonious. But if we are building ourselves, you know, walking that path of defending the identity, defending it, defending the position, defending the knowingness, I would look into that. Because true nature doesn't need any defense. Like, it just doesn't exist there. That doesn't happen. It is what it is. Water doesn't go around going, I'm just really sorry, I'm so wet, or I'm so much wetter than you. You know, it's like we see how it is when we put it in like a metaphor like that. You know, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. And we have this noble want to be good. But it's like what Barb was reading from Ajahn, we're not beggars in this room. If we're constantly wanting, well, causeless love, let's remember, is unconditional and causeless. So if wanting is on the menu, then wanting is. Okay. Scarcity, lack, I'm not good. There's never a hammer that says you shouldn't behave like that, you shouldn't act like that from the ground of being. The ground of being is just like generative, causeless, giving, without self-consciousness. It shines because that's what it is, not because it's rewarding or giving, because that's the nature of it. So even if we have to accept it as an idea, we are good. I am good. This is good. There's a Buddhist temple up in Wallowa County, and Reverend Mado, we sat with her, Barb and I, and a few other friends quite a bit for a few years. She's an amazing Reverend Master Mado. She's one of the old school, leave your kids and family and go build a temple. And, you know, I mean, head for the hills and old school sort of. The only female lineage in Zen, Soto Zen, Shasta Abbey. And she just goes around saying good. Like it's literally every word out of her mouth. Good, 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 good. At first I was like, what is happening, you know? That's it. Good, 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 good. you ever get a chance to go sit with her, I really recommend it. Beautiful. So even if that's just an idea at this point, and there's still all of the belief on top of it, let's go ahead and recognize that that's just believing. Or look into it, and don't take my word for it. Look into it. Look into it. Bring it in. Sit down. Look at how it is coming into being. You know, I never knew what the word ego meant. I still, wonder about it. But I was asked for an explanation, and so I could sit down and I could look at okay, how does separateness actually come into being? How does that happen? And it may be different for you, but what was discovered here is believing a thought. Believing a thought is that's the sprout. I would believe, if I believed a thought, therein would be the separation. The believer, the knower, the feeler, and it would build its case. Self-generating. It self-generates. It's not an evil entity or anything, It's a function, a process in consciousness that's just tyrant. It's like infection. Honestly. Don't take my word for it. I look into it. How does it happen? Where does it come from? I believe that about these people. I believe that about this situation. Who? What is believing? Why is the attention so bound to that? Start finding, a lot of shoulds. Oh yeah. I had a really strange thought walking on the beach in Costa Rica this year that came out of freaking nowhere, because normally there's just not much thinking happening at all. And it was like, money is the root of all evil. I was like, okay. I just went back to the condo and went, I don't know if that's true. And a whole bunch of stuff came out of that, actually. Super interesting. Really unexpected. Okay. There could have been, in another time and place here, the thought come in, by God, that's right. And then you figure out why it's right. And then you figure out who those evil assholes are with all the money, and then I mean, it could have been the whole thing. Just in an instant, just in a hair's breadth of perspective. Hair's breadth. But for some reason, something here is just super curious about all of that. And it's like, no, I don't know about that. So I invited it to tea, essentially. Why's that dropping in out there on Playa Azul? There was a lot there for this. And what happened after with donations and support for the Sangha and that kind of thing was Miraculous. Miraculous. So there was something in the way there. Totally I mean, so we can beat ourselves up in the process, and be critical in all of that, but I would encourage a gentle, like we're working, not everyone has had a toddler, but everyone's been one. Like we're working with a toddler who has a lot of neediness and just wants to be loved, seen, not told that it's like, man, I just really don't want you around right now. I'm going to build a case against you. Just one more thing, bear with me, and then we'll take a break. Because I was headed this way, and then this sense of separateness that wants to be good and wants to build a better world and have a better world and alleviate suffering and find peace, and that seeker, that noble do-gooder, that's all really beautiful and actually useful to a certain point. But there's no one there to be a bodhisattva. There's no one there to be a bodhisattva. It says it actually right in the Prajnaparamita Sutras. It's part of scripture in the Mahayana Buddhist tradition. The bodhisattva's mind is not frightened by the total absence of any recognizable, definable, or findable being called a bodhisattva. It couldn't be more true. We don't get to go through the finish line and get the blue ribbon. Oh, God, it'd be great, but it doesn't happen that way. Who would that be? Would be the first question that would come to mind. So I had told some people that we were going to work again with the resistance and guided meditation, but what I think I would like to do after the break is go to the heart. Let's go to the heart. Okay, so let's take a break. Thank you so much.